Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hey everybody, before you jump into this week's Combat Sports UK podcast, I've got some exciting news for you. Do you want to look as stylish as Thomas Shelby when you train? Do you want to experience the comfort that can only be achieved by a cup of tea on a cold day? Well, good news for you guys. Ex-Martial has partnered with us, Combat Sports UK. They are the fastest growing brand in martial arts for a reason. They are making waves and taking practitioners with their slick, stylish, and hilarious designs that are fit for a king. From rash guards to shorts, streetwear, and more, Ex-Martial has got you covered. Ex-Martial is an extremely community-oriented brand, having given away over $50,000 in free gear last year alone, as well as sponsoring over 300 athletes. And if you shop using the code CSUK10 at checkout, you can get 10% off everything in store. That code again is CSUK10 at checkout. Go and check out xmartial.com and enjoy the fight. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Combat Sports UK MMA podcast. And we're here to discuss UFC 304. And as always, I'm joined by a man who this time has told me he's only got one fight left on his Combat Sports UK contract. And what he would like to do ideally is go out and try and find a pillow fight with Hasbullah in Abu Dhabi for around about $20 million. I'm not exactly sure how well he'll do with that one, but who knows? It is the main man, Jon Gamebred Boguslavski. How are you, sir?
Good. I think you could take Hasbullah on.
In a pillow fight, no bother. No bother at all.
Yeah, I think so. How about you? How you?
Good, my friend. Very good. Looking forward to previewing this card. I have to thank all of the people that actually tuned in and watched our preview of Lemos and January. I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm really surprised that anyone tuned in to watch that. So thank you all for those that did. We had a good chat on there. But today we're here to preview a massive card. I would say probably the biggest card on UK soil. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Would you agree?
The biggest one? I would say so. The last one we had was Usman versus Edwards 3, if I remember correctly. It wasn't too bad of a fight card, but this one's definitely like stacked up main card with all the top UK fighters we have: Edwards, Mokaev, Arnold, Allen. So it should be a good one. I don't remember what happened on the UK Usman 3 Edwards card.
So it was Gaethje Fiziev was the co-main event.
I would argue that co-main's probably better. No, actually, no. Aspinall was there, but that fight definitely was a banger.
Yeah,
we had Gunnar Nelson, Barberina, Jennifer Maya, Casey O'Neill, Vittori Delice. So I would say, this main card overall is stronger than the one we had back then. Yeah,
it's an interesting point of reference, isn't it? The card is probably more interesting than the main event. But that being said, and a bit of a caveat before we get into it, this is what a meritocracy looks like, right? Belal Muhammad, whether you like him or not, deserves to be there. So I think this card, I would say talent-wise, it's one of the most stacked cards the UK has ever had. You have got 2 title fights on there, whatever the opinions are about the heavyweight fight, which obviously we'll get into. But you look at some of these fights, Allen, Chikadze, that's an eliminator. Got to be the title eliminator, right? Mokaev, Kape, similar, could be, depends who wins. Bobby Green, Paddy, Pimblett, I mean, that's got drama written all over it. And then on the undercard, you're looking at fighters like Nathaniel Wood, Molly McCann, Oban Elliott, Mick Parkin, people like that. So it's really, really stacked. But let's waste no time, man. Let's get straight into this. Leon Edwards, Belal Muhammad. Leon Edwards, as we know, coming off the win against Colby Covington, which we all enjoyed last December. And Belal Muhammad, forget the name Muhammad, seems like he's been waiting for this title shot longer than Michael Chandler's been waiting for the Conor McGregor fight. He lost for Gilbert Burns in May of last year. So, I mean, Leon Edwards did hang around a little bit to defend that belt. I think, he beat Usman in the March of last year and then fought Colby in the December. But you're still looking at 2 title fights in that year. Where do you stand on this fight? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you cringing at it? What are your thoughts?
I like it to get it out of the way so we can see the real real contenders, because when you think about welterweight, all we're talking about is Shafkat, JDM, Ian Gary. So it's kind of like gotta get this fight out of the way just to get the next contenders up and going and see who Edwards will be or the champion will be facing next. Because I highly doubt this would be like a fight of the year type contender that whoever loses there's a rematch. I think they're quickly trying to throw this kind of under the rug. Cool. Edwards get defense, face Shafkat or Belal. Wow, congratulations, you finally win. Defend against Shafkat. I think no matter what, we just think Shafkat is next or something like that. So I think just kind of like a throw under the rug type fight to get the next contender title challenger to fight for the belt.
Yeah, and I think it ticks a big box as well with the UK pay-per-view market. Well, I wouldn't say UK pay-per-view, but having a pay-per-view in the UK ticks a big box there, right? You can stick Leon at the top.
Yep.
He's got a title defense at home. Belal is not a star in the US. That doesn't particularly matter. It ticks a good box, right? You get the UK fans a good card underneath it. I think it's really clever how they've done this. The UFC, especially as Tom is the interim champ, so that has to go underneath. You've kind of got some more star building for Leon Edwards. You get him that third title defense, which it would be if he beats Belal. And then, like you said, if Belal or Leon wins, they probably go to Mr. Rahmanov next. I mean, do you think it should be Belal or should it already be Shavkat?
No, I think as much as we probably don't like Belal or not a fan favorite of his style, he does have a 10 fight unbeaten streak.
Yeah, possibly
So
12, I think, too.
I think yeah, it's double digits now. So I believe it's unbeaten streak. So I believe he did fight his dues. He fought up the rankings in a way. He fought Sean Brady, fought Gilbert Burns, fight Vincente Luque, fight Stephen Thompson. He fought Damian Maia when he was ranked.
Yeah.
So he kind of paid his dues in a way. Obviously, his most impressive one was against Sean Brady, but it's his only stoppage. It's one of 2 or 3 stoppages he has in his 18 fight career in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
You were hoping someone who would be a title challenger would be more exciting than that. You know who does have more finishes than him? Shafkat. You know how many finishes? Shafkat has as many fights he has that many wins. And as that many wins he has, that many finishes he has.
Yeah, it's
So
ridiculous.
we all know, like this. I don't want to turn this to a get Shafkat title shot podcast, but it's definitely a deserved title shot for Bilal. But we kind of saw what happened in the first fight, how Edwards did not really he didn't feel Bilal as a threat. I never saw Edwards move forward and strike a person down. So that's what Edwards did, and he easily won that first round. And I don't see how that could go any different if other than the eye poke. I don't see how it could go any different. I just think Leon's not gonna fear the power Bilal's gonna throw at him and just move his way forward.
I think you have to look at the progression between each fighter, right? Like
Yep.
that for me, that first fight was literally like watching a ranked guy fight a non-ranked contender. Like he was just so far above Belal Muhammad. And Belal Muhammad's kind of taught himself, whether he believes it or not, I have no idea. But he's taught himself into this narrative that, he's gonna choke out Leon, he's gonna dominate him, etc. etc. This is not it's not, with all due respect, Stephen Thompson, who's very one-dimensional, right? Who, if you can employ your game plan, it'll go and it'll work. We saw that against Kamaru and Colby, who are both arguably, I would say, more well-rounded MMA fighters than this version of Belal Muhammad is, right? Especially Kamaru at his prime. Like it wasn't washed up Kamaru that Leon beat, with that head kick. Yeah, okay. Apart from the first round, he got dominated, but then in the second fight, it's still Pete Kamaru. It's still
It
Pete Kamaru.
agreed. It
And
looked like It looked like Kamaru was defending all of his belts. He was doing his same style and just Edwards figured him out. He got
yeah,
better.
yeah, and I can't see how what I struggle seeing is how Leon is not going to be able to deal with Bilal's weapon. Can he deal with the cage wrestling? Yes, we saw that against Usman. Can he deal with the takedown game? Yes, we saw that kind of against Colby, but also against Usman. He's by far and away a better striker than Belal Muhammad. No matter how much striking Belal Muhammad has done, Leon Edwards is just light years ahead of him in the striking game. So it's kind of almost like I don't see how Leon loses, and that worries me a little bit because you kind of when you start thinking like that, the crazy things happen in MMA.
Crazy things have happened in MMA, but I think Edwards not like the type of guy to go out of his style and not listen to his coaches, kind of, right? The best moment we had of one of the coolest moments we have is like when Leon's coach like, "Don't bully you, son. Come
Yeah,
on now." And he kind of, I guess, took in the message. He probably did look like he gave up a bit on against Usman in that second fight, but came back with a head kick. He found a way to win. Uh, against Diaz, I guess Edwards got kind of bored and got caught at the end there. But I don't think in a title shot against in his hometown, in his home country rather, and will be dominating and will fall asleep like that for a belt. And even in his bass fights, they're both kind of decision makers. Let's agree with that.
mm.
They don't have exciting styles, but they both get done what they need to get done to win. But in terms of who is the more talented fighter, I would say Edwards, especially with if you compare his last 3 fights for Edwards, which is Usman, Colby, versus Belal, which was an injured Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, and declining
Luke.
Vicente Luque. And Vicente Luque has not looked good recently at all. He barely won against Rafael dos Santos, who's a 47-year-old man who used to fight a lightweight. Sean Brady was probably the most impressive when it is the most impressive when he had,
Yeah,
but it didn't seem like Sean Brady himself because Sean Brady was a wrestler. He kept on the feet and striking. You saw what he did with Kevin Gastelum, which is I think how he would have done Belal. Given the rematch, I think Brady would wipe the floor with Belal. And Gilbert's he broke his shoulder
yeah, it was
or
something like that, wasn't it? Yeah,
in round 1 of a 5-round fight on a short notice 3 weeks after he just fought Jorge Masvidal. So it's tough to compare. The last 3 fights, Edward fought the top of the division with Colby in there. Colby is still like durable in the type of way, and he has really good wrestling. So let's see how Edwards does versus Belal. He just fought three superior wrestlers. Usman didn't really wrestle much except compared to the second to the third fight. And Belal is wrestling heavy type. So let's see how Edwards deals with that.
yeah. I mean, interesting points you made there. If you were the Bilal team, what are you thinking is probably his key to victory? Like how do you get around this version of Leon Edwards, considering what he did to Colby? Because the thing with the Colby fight is we didn't know Colby was what Colby was before that fight, right? Because our evidence before that was that Colby was elite and he pushed Kamaru Usman pretty far. But then obviously the Colby we saw in that fight just wasn't. And is that because Leon Edwards was so good that he just completely didn't know what to do with him? Or is it that Colby's on the decline? So if you're in that Belal Muhammad camp and you're thinking about it, devil's advocate, how would you beat this version of Leon Edwards?
Make it as boring as possible. I would honestly, yes, is try to not make Edwards lead the dance and you lead the dance. I mean, as in advancing as most as possible you can. Push him to the cage, take him down, hold him there. I don't see Belal having superior striking than Edwards. I don't see Belal having superior wrestling as Edwards because he proved it against his last 2 opponents. In terms of jiu-jitsu, I think Belal has 1 submission on his record.
Yeah.
So I don't see him having superior submission because we did see Edwards take Usman down, who's one of the best. Everyone considers one of the best wrestlers. Took him down round 1 on his had his back. He transitioned his back and just couldn't get the choke in because Usman's that good. Maybe Belal could defend it as well, but if you are the guy who is get getting taken down and get your back taken, you're losing that round. So for Belal, you just can't do that. You just gotta beat the guy on top always. And basically what you did against Vicente Luque. Against Vicente Luque, yeah, and Sean Brady.
Mm,
Because you're the guy who took the person down and laid and prayed on top of him. And that's, I think, your only way to victory. Unless you surprise me and you have magic knockout power all of a sudden within the time frame between Gilbert Burns and this fight. And you could go strike for striking with Edwards, but Edwards is one of the best counter strikers and boxers in the UFC. Like MVP said after his loss to Gary, like if you are planning on striking, Edwards will beat you. If Edwards will beat Gary in terms of striking, he will definitely
yeah.
take Belal easily.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a Conor Khabib situation, right? Where, when John Kavanagh came out after that fight and he was saying we were so focused on the takedown that it dropped our hands, we couldn't get our striking game sorted, right? That's the only way you
No,
could kind of look at it similarly because Bilal is such a wrestling artist, right? That's what he's going to do. So I don't think Leon's going to get into that game mindset. I don't think he's going to get in there to counter what Bilal is doing. I genuinely think exactly what you said. He wants to control the pace. I think Leon wants to go in there, control this fight, and show how good he is. So, flip the question: if you're the Leon camp, is it a case of you win this however you want? What do you think on that part of it, or do you really want to avoid that lay and pray style of Bilal?
you can't. You always want to avoid. I think any fight wants to avoid that lay and pray style. But Edwards showed he has good takedown defense. Again, like he faced his last three fights were all American wrestlers. So he has a good takedown defense. He's not afraid of getting taken down. He knows how to pull himself back up. The Edwards style, what he has to do is kind of fight on the outside like he usually does and
Mm,
snap him. And then when Bilal's guard is down, he's like thinking what he's going to do next. That's when you come in with a power punches and throw like a head kick and throw those elbows. Edwards has nice elbows. He has a good variety of striking. He has a really
yeah,
good one, especially his knees as well as he showed in his last fight against Usman in the trilogy fight of Usman. There's some beautiful knees he hit there. With a knee to elbow combination. I don't see why Edwards won't keep doing that. I don't think Edwards has to think like Connor did, like, oh, we're too focused on takedowns because he fought his last three fights were against wrestlers. I don't
yeah.
think he has that mentality. I think he has a mentality of yes, not taken down as everybody who's fighting should have coming into a fight and show that you're the superior fighter or striker and that there's levels to this. I don't think Edwards will be nervous at all for this, but obviously with a cautionary tale, like not be too close, not just go crazy and be in the line of fire for if Belal could counter a punch or something, not be too close.
Mm. Yeah, and that's kind of that nature of it is what makes me worry, right? I think I said the same thing when we covered the Colby fight. Like that kind of it feels so guaranteed. Oh, not the Colby fight. What fight was it where I was saying the same thing? Maybe Aspinall. I can't remember anyway. But I was saying I was just so worried about the outcome because I'm so certain, and I cannot see how Bilal gets this done. I cannot see it at all. Like finish, decision, submission, nothing. I cannot see a scenario where Belal Muhammad gets this done. But I can see a head kick knockout. I can see Edwards dropping him. I could see Edwards getting a decision, a unanimous decision, something like that. I can't see, Edwards' cardio is not a problem in Manchester, even though it's
Mm-mm.
going to be God knows what time at night. That's not going to be an issue. Bilal's dealing with the same. I don't think he's US based, is he? I think he's Dubai or something like that, Russia based. So he's going to have the same issues. So I
I
don't
think
see it.
he, I think he is US based,
Hmm.
but it's still a transition to fly there and everything. But I think Edwards, you know how he prepared himself when he fought at Usman in Salt Lake City, the second fight, it's a high altitude. He was
Yeah,
sleeping in a tank.
yeah.
What do you call it? A cryo tank?
Oh, the altitude
Yeah,
altitude
altitude
tank or
10.
something like
So
that, right?
Edwards he comes prepared. He knows what he's into. He was prepared to fight UC 300. He was prepared to fight Hamza. He was prepared to fight Shavkat. He was prepared to fight Islam. So Edwards, I have no worry about Edwards. I think he has a really good game plan. He has good coaches. He has good surroundings. and it helps that he's fighting in your home country, even though it's at a awkward time. I think you could just
Mm.
adjust to it. Just pretend you're flying to the States like he did for Salt Lake. Prepare appropriately for this fight.
It must be the Englishman in me that gets me worried. Let's go to predictions, man. How do you think it's going to go down?
I mean, Belal has 26 fights, 17 decisions, and Edwards has 25 fights with 11 decisions. I think I'll be comfortably going here with Leon Edwards title defense, number 3, with a points decision score.
Okay.
I know it's going to be unanimous. I feel like it's going to be like I'll go even further, say it's like a 49-46 type. He might drop around or something. Just Bilal might actually take him down or something, but comfortable unanimous decision win for Edwards.
Yeah, I pretty much see it the same, to be fair, mate. I think it'll be a Leon Edwards pretty comfortable decision. So that takes us on to the interim heavyweight title fight between one of our favorites, Tom Aspinall, defending his belt after winning it against Sergey Pavlovich at UFC 295. Again, the man, Curtis Blaydes, who himself he's kind of in and out, but he's coming off the win against Jair Almeida at UFC 299, round 2 finish. These guys obviously have previous when Tom Aspinall lost the fight to Curtis Blaydes back in 2022, and that caused him to be out for a year. I think first we've got to talk about the narrative around this fight before we actually get into the fight itself. Should this be an undisputed heavyweight title fight?
Yeah, undisputed. I think undisputed should be against John Jones. What I don't think is, and I've been saying it all year, I don't think Aspinall should be fighting to defend his belt. I think it should be you point of the interim. It means you are the clear number 1 contender. In
Yeah.
my mind, you're not a champion. You're the clear number 1 contender. You beat out the other clear contender to fight for the belt. You beat him. Means you are clear to fight for the champion. And I think once if what they should have done was Stipe versus Aspinall, right? Because Jones got injured, so then you're like, okay, Stipe, former champ, he last fight just lost a belt, so maybe he could come back. I think this is a mess. The heavyweight division right now, it's a complete mess. It's like Brock Lesnar said when he came to the cage and pushed DC. This heavyweight division is a mess. I think you can only blame. There's somebody you can blame Dina and Jones for this, but there shouldn't be a defense of the interim. If anything, it should be what they did to Whitaker, and when he had the interim, once Bisping GSP fought and GSP won and retired again, you promote him to the undisputed. It's weird if he does. It'll be weird if he does defend, beat Blaydes, and then Jones Stipe fight and both retire, which the rumors are. Is he gonna go undisputed? Would that defense count against Blaydes? There's a lot of questions around this.
Yeah.
Either way, I think I went a bit on a rant here, but to your original question is should this be for the undisputed? No, because this is an interim. This is an interim.
Okay.
I think the
So,
undisputed would be
in your
either
mind, there
Jones or
should just be
Stipe.
no belt involved whatsoever, right? It should just be a co-main event, 3 rounds, number 1 contender fight.
Because I don't consider Blaydes number 1 contender either. So that's the problem. I think they're literally just doing this because Aspinall has a loss technically on his record against Blaydes because he got an injury. I think they're just doing this rematch because they're supposed to fight anyways, and there's an unfortunate injury that Aspinall sustained during that fight, and they're just taking that fight back. See, Blaydes, you have a win over him, prove it. Aspinall, you lost against him due to an injury, prove you can beat this guy. I think they just threw Aspinall to fight on a pay-per-view in the UK. It just so happened he's the interim champion.
Yeah, well, I think it's a mixture also that Aspinall wants to keep active, right? He's very outspoken in his want to be active, whether it's belt or no belt. I think belt or no belt, he's on this card, regardless. Even if he hadn't have
Yeah.
fought in November, right, he hadn't have taken that fight against Pavlovich, he would have been on this card anyway, regardless, and probably against Curtis Blaydes because they want to get that one back. Both of them do, from what I'm seeing. You know, Blaydes isn't exactly taking it as a victory. You know, he kind of said, "Yeah, it is what it is. We'll get it back." So, I think this fight was bound to happen.
Yep.
Do I think it should be for an undisputed title? Yes, I do. I'm putting my cards on the table. This should be for the belt. The fight in November should have been for the belt, right? Because now it's only Jon Jones. They did not strip him. It's only Jon Jones. That's the only reason they did not strip him and make that fight an undisputed title fight. Because otherwise, you could build a narrative of Jones coming back, but then you had the Stipe narrative, right? That whole thing is the reason we're in this mess. Because it was Jones, the GOAT, against Stipe, the GOAT of the heavyweight division. It's a narrative. At the time, we were all up for it, right? At the time, I wasn't saying I don't want this fight. Well, I wasn't banging the drum for Tom Aspinall to be in that fight. But now we have it because of that set of circumstances. What they should have done is just said, no, Jones is not the champ. Aspinall, Pavlovich, heavyweight championship, undisputed. Bang, job done. You'd still get both fighters on the card because I don't think either of them would have done it had it been for a standard 3-round fight. I don't think Pavlovich or Aspinall would have said, no, there's not a lot in it for us, right? To take this on 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah.
Pavlovich wasn't on the card. He was as backup
Nobody
anyway,
was.
wasn't he? But I think Pavlovich was as a backup, right? So
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
I think it's the caveat, right? That's the only way you get the Aspinall Pavlovich fight, but that should have been for an undisputed. Therefore, this should be for an undisputed. Both our opinions aside, what do you think about the matchup? How do you see it going down?
It's a very interesting matchup actually because Blaydes is wrestling heavy and Aspinall is super quick for the division. I think he's one of the fastest heavyweights with like Cyril Gahn, but Cyril Gahn stays more outside in terms of striking and likes to blitz in. Aspinall likes to do everything fast. He would push for your legs really quickly. He would punch you, move down, move up. So I still like this matchup. I just want no belt onto it. But aside from the belt, I just keep going back to it. It's an intriguing matchup because we didn't really see it. We did see kind of Aspinall moving forward and then Blaydes trying to counter. Aspinall take a step back and pop his ACL, MCL, whatever it is. So I just think it's going to be a domination from Aspinall. I don't see Blaydes being superior. The only superior part he has is wrestling. But you did see with Jonathan Almeida, he was able to take him down to his knees, but not complete the takedown. I think Aspinall is different. I think Aspinall could take him down in the middle of the cage with a surprise double leg and keep him there. And then, Aspinall has amazing jiu-jitsu, has really good submission techniques, has good top control, pressure. So I don't see Blaydes doing anything better than Aspinall other than wrestling against the cage, if that makes sense.
Yeah, an interesting stat about Blaydes is majority of his wins comes from KO TKO.
Yeah, but how does he get them? How does he get them?
Right?
Is because he takes them down and ground and pound. But if you look at Aspinall, he has such a variety of finishes in his record. Like I could probably almost remember every single one of his UFC fight. Pavlovich, one punch, kind of a punch, punching and TK and then ground and pound. But that one punch really took Pavlovich out. Tybura took him down, ground and pound. Volkov took him down, submitted him.
Both in the middle of the cage, like you said.
Middle of the cage, right? And Volkov is also so long, so it's easier to take him down, kind of. But he's so long. Sergey Spivak, again, ground and pound. Like you get it. Andrei Arlovsky, what did he do? He again from the middle of the cage went for a double, got him down, went straight for the back and submitted him.
Yeah.
Was it Jay Collier too? Got a nice 1-2 punch going down the middle. So Aspinall's not afraid to strike. It's a good different variety. He's very, very well rounded for heavyweight for a heavyweight fighter, and he's so quick. That's the problem.
Yeah, the dude's a wrecking ball. The dude is an absolute wrecking ball. Like round ones, round two finishes every time, all the time. Like there's nothing else on his TV. You know, the likes like who finishes Pavlovich in the first round, you know, and then Volkov as well. We saw what it looked like when them two came together, right? Like neither of them two were going to finish each other in that fight by the looks of how it was going. So it's impressive, man.
I just want to mention, going back to the title thing, I think Volkov is more deserving of a title shot than Blaydes the title interim title shot. I think
there's an argument there. There's an argument there.
Yeah. If you look at their last 4 or 5 fights, Volkov has a winning streak and he has finishes.
Yeah.
Compared to Blaydes, who only has a finish, who lost to Pavlovich in the first round. And then before that, lost to Derek Lewis. So he lost to Derek, 1-3, lost to Pavlovich, again by knockout. So Blaydes also looks like successful in knockouts, although he did get knocked out by Pavlovich and Derek Lewis who have knockout power. But Aspinall has knockout power as well. So, and I think in terms of Volkov, who showed how you deal with Pavlovich, finish Tuivasa, I think he has more of a claim to the title shot than Curtis Blaydes.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think it's a narrative thing. It's just a narrative. And then who are you going to put in there against Tom that Tom hasn't beaten already at this stage, right? Cyril Gane didn't want the fight. You know, it's very obvious. He was off recording a movie, wanted nothing to do with Tom Aspinall. And Tom Aspinall was there in Paris. And I remember him saying time last year, right? When he won the fight against Tybura, I'm going to Paris, give me Cyril Gane. And he was there in Paris looking at Cyril Gane, and Cyril Gane has wanted nothing to do with it, right? And now he's fighting. Is he fighting Volkov? No. Is he booked to fight Volkov in Abu Dhabi, right?
Gane and Volkov are rumored. I don't know if
it's not signed, right? So that just shows where that guy's mindset is at. So yeah, apart from him, you know, there's nobody really at the time. I think, you know, Volkov was obviously booked in for the Saudi card. Yeah. So yeah, there's the Blaydes narrative. He obviously wants to get it back. I think it's a good fight. I think it could. Nah, who am I kidding? It's not going to be competitive. I think honestly, I can't see similar kind of to Edwards and Muhammad. Like everything Curtis Blaydes does well, Tom Aspinall does better, or he has a counter for. Right? Yep, he's not going to get. I don't think he's going to get trapped on the ground by Curtis Blaydes long enough to get finished. I think he's got the good enough jiu-jitsu to be able to get out of there. Curtis Blaydes, yeah, he is a bit of a lay and prayer, but he's not like a Derek Lewis who can just kind of flop on top of you and that's it, right? If he chooses to do that. But I think Aspinall's got to know how to get out of it.
Curtis doesn't lay and pray. Like we just talked about his record, he does like low ground and pound finishes, right? He tries to move his position to the good spot where he can ground and pound, throw those elbows, those razor blades. So, but in those movements, that's when Aspinall will find an opening to get out of the way, find push off, find a different position to move Blaydes around. And let's see I'm interested to see how Blaydes does against Aspinall's jiu-jitsu. I don't know if you ever seen. We rarely see 2 big 265-pound men just get moved around like in jiu-jitsu does. So I'm interested to see how Blaydes would counter that.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get that far. Honestly, I think the hands are going to be too good. I think if Tom can get in there and find it against Sergey Pavlovich, he's going to get in there and find it against Curtis Blaydes. There's no doubt really in my mind. He's going to catch him, and we've seen when Curtis comes up against these guys that are punchers, he does get knocked out and he does get a little bit chinny. He's better against the guys that will try and play him at his game, or that he can dominate because they don't have the wrestling credentials. Think about Jairzinho Rosenstruik, for example, and Chris Dawkins, right? Like those guys that can't play his game. Anymore. Yeah, exactly. Those guys that try to play Curtis at his game, Curtis beats them pretty much. But the guys that are above that, i.e. Pavlovich, Derek, Ngannou, those guys, they finish him. So I think I can see the same for Aspinall. So I'm going to throw my prediction straight in there. First round finish. KO. TKO, KO. Easy.
Same prediction. I think first round TKO for Aspinall. I think he's gonna get them reads, get Blaydes a little happy striking, I guess, and then he's not even gonna shoot for a takedown. I feel he's just gonna fake a takedown, get a one shot. I think he's gonna find his chin. I think and probably finish the ground and pound, like kind of just like he did with Sergey Pavlovich.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that happen. And then for me, at least, all roads lead to Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira.
Oh, well, we talked about that on the other pod, so you know what I think about that. But eventually, I do think Aspinall will be undisputed, and Pereira will get another title defense at light heavyweight, and then it'll be like, well, this makes perfect sense. Let's see if he could be the first three. If Pereira could be the first three division champion.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd love to see him get the Jon fight, but it's just not going to happen, especially with the legal trouble Jon got himself into. Is he going to need to stick around for the money? You know, like Floyd Mayweather style, right? That's maybe the only way we could get to see the Aspinall fight. But even then, he'd probably push for the Pereira fight, Jon. You know, like I just don't see. I don't think it's going to happen.
I think Jones is ducking Aspinall.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Honestly, I really think so. I really think so.
Also, let's say Aspinall does win, right? They're rumored as Jones and me and Stipe in November.
Yeah.
Is this the only fight we're going to see for Aspinall this year again?
Can't be, because he wants to stay active, right?
And what he's going to do, defend his interim belt for a second time? He's going to have more defenses than Jones.
And now with Gane booked up, who's he going to fight? There's no one there left to fight. With Gane and Volkov are supposedly fighting each other. Tuivasa's booked up, right? If you have a quick look at the rankings.
Now, I think the two people, it's probably Sergey Spivak versus but he fought both of them. He fought Spivak and Mason and Tybura, and he won both of them.
Go back to what you said at the beginning. It is a mess. It is a mess. It is a mess. I don't know how you get around and do it, but that's our predictions for the main and co-main event. So let's jump into the rest of the card now. So the first fight of which, underneath those main fights, is Arnold Allen and Giga Chikadze. Arnold Allen ranking at 6th in the featherweight division, with Giga Chikadze coming in at 10th. Arnold Allen coming off of back-to-back losses, pretty much for the first time in his career. Both unanimous decisions against Movsar Evloev and the baddest man on the planet, Max Holloway. Ilia Topuria accept the fight. And then Giga Chikadze coming off a win against Alex Caceres, another unanimous decision. So could it be a couple of decision merchants? Recently it has been for Chikadze, but he does have a lot of finishes on his record. I mean, how do you see this one, man? It seems like Allen is right on that cusp, kind of looking at almost gatekeeper status, really. If you look at the top of the division, I mean, where do you have him at the
moment? Yeah, pardon me. Yeah, he's right up there. He's not, he lost to Max. We'll say he's probably one of the best featherweights of all time. He lost to Movsar Evloev in his last fight. Tough loss. Of course, we know Movsar is a decision maker, kind of person that will just hold you down and literally just keep holding you, not even do any damages. And I was there for that fight versus Movsar. It looked like Allen actually threw the bigger, better shots. Tried to actually finish Movsar a few times, ninja choked that knee, which I think was legal.
Yeah, yep.
And Giga's also, he's older and he's on the older side. He had a quick kind of rise, and then Cater kind of just obliterated him.
Yeah.
And then he dropped that, and he dropped a few. Now he's like lower in the rankings. I don't know if he's a gatekeeper him as well. I don't see this as a title eliminator. I just see this like as a movement for the featherweight division. But I do like Arnold Allen's chance in this fight.
Yeah, I like it as well. To be honest. I think Arnold's got the cleaner, crisper, more powerful striking. I mean, Giga pretty much relies on his kicking game, really, right? And I feel like Allen's very good at closing that distance, kind of keeping out of the way of any really dangerous kicks. I think it'll be up to Giga really to move, to get on his bike and try and move as much around the octagon as he can. I don't think standing in the pocket is a good idea with Arnold Allen. You know, one thing that always gets me with Arnold Allen is just how big he looks. He's always pretty
45,
jacked.
right? Yeah.
He's always pretty jacked. He looks like a big boy. You know, when you put him in there with the skinny frame like Max Holloway, for example. Giga's similar, right? Got a skinny frame. I think he's shorter than Max. So I don't know. I kind of see this as Arnold's fight to lose, pretty much. And you know, I think he's gonna have
Yeah.
a bad night.
Same. Arnold is the more well-rounded fighter compared to Giga, and I do see Allen as a more stronger, powerful guy. And Giga is not the level of Max, so I do feel like Arnold will be able to overpower Giga. Probably see him one of his Allen performances where he pushes him to the cage and tries to take him down, or just push him in the cage and strike with there, like throw a little body shot, get a clinch, throw something on top. I don't see him. His best performance against Dan Hooker, also in the UK, where he blitzed him and caught Hooker with a when Hooker tried to move down back to 145. I think the weight cut might have been too much for him, and the chin kind of left. But I do see Arnold. Yeah, he's more well-rounded. He could probably overpower Giga. Not going to firepower strike for strike with Giga, especially avoid the kicks from him. And I think Arnold would do pretty fine here.
Yeah, and I feel like this is, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, it's not a title setup fight, but I feel like it's one of those where you win this one, you get one more, and then you're probably in title contention. I mean, we don't obviously know what's happening with Volk yet. We've got Mobzar kind of waiting in and around there at the top of the division. Is he ever, you know, is he ever gonna get a shot, or is he gonna end up a bit like Belal Muhammad, right? A welterweight, having to wait a couple, and then go from there. And I mean, look, if Max wins the belt back, it closes the door, right, for Arnold Allen if he wins this fight, because we've seen how that fight goes.
I wouldn't say necessarily it will close the door. I think Allen's definitely, since he dropped two, he'll definitely have to win two to go back to
Yeah.
the title.
Yeah.
And by the time he fights two, I think Topuria might fight once, and for his belt might change hands. We'll see. So there's definitely like a little cluster on top. Max, or it sounds like it's definitely Max versus Topuria, and we'll see what Volk is gonna try to do, because there's been rumblings and rumors about going up to lightweight
Yeah.
permanently,
Yeah.
and then fight like a Poirier, a Gaethje, Chandler, whatever it is. So we got to see what the movement of the title is, but as well, Ortega just didn't fight, and he's still in rank number 3, I believe, or number 2. So
Yeah, 3.
number 3, Rodriguez is still up there too. Rodriguez is in a fight set up, although I heard rumors he might be coming back. So it's definitely, there's movements there. I think Ovlev will be like the Belal of the featherweight division, because he doesn't have an impressive performance, doesn't have an impressive win. You don't go after his fight, you don't go like, wow, he deserves a title shot. You look at his winning streak, but you see there's 17 decisions there. And you're like,
Yeah.
do you really want to see that against anybody? No. So he definitely has the advantage if he does finish and does more impressive performances than Evlev. For Allen, so he definitely has to get a win and get probably another win streak going like he did right before the Max Holloway fight, and that's why he earned the Max Holloway fight, because he had an impressive win streak. There,
Yeah.
he's like, okay, here's the number 1 contender. You could fight him, you win. If he won against Max, no doubt he would have been the third title shot. And you can nothing be ashamed of. Not a lot of people win against Max. They could do their rematch against Calvin Kattar. I think Cater's booked up as well, though. There's rumors of him fighting somebody. So it's just finding the right opportunities for Allen. You win this, you're in a good chance for sure, because no one wants to fight. No one wants to see Ivlev. Ortega's not fighting. Looks like Rodriguez is taking time off. I don't know if he's fighting anybody. So you're definitely right on the cusp of the top 5. I don't know if you were ready for a rematch versus Ivlev right away, but he has to build up momentum too, get back to the title shot.
Yeah, it seems like really from that picture, there's only really two viable options, and that's Ortega and Rodriguez. And I mean, we just had obviously whatever happened with Ortega at 303, and he was obviously talking about gearing up for a fight at the Sphere at lightweight. So okay, he might be out of the picture.
Right.
Then you're looking at Yair Rodriguez. I mean, look, I think that's a good matchup. The winner of this fight versus Yair Rodriguez, I like either of them, to be fair. If it's Giga or if it's Arnold, I don't think either of them have fought Rodriguez before, so it's a new matchup. I think it sets it up quite nicely. Neither of them's going to fight Volk, right? If Volk comes back in, he comes back in for a title shot, or like
Right.
you said, he's up at lightweight against one of these legend names, which I would love to see. I mean, that would be great, and it kind of does open up this division a little bit. So it's in a little bit of flux, but this is a good fight to have. I think it sets out a clear number one contender, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Like the
like
guy
a fight
behind the guy.
behind. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You're kind of to take on your Rodriguez and then build a title shot from there. But overall, as a matchup, I like it. Like I said, I think Alan's going to have a good night, and Giga's going to have a really good game plan to pick up any kind of victory in this fight. How do you see it going? Are you seeing a decision merchants?
Yeah, I feel like we've been most of this card will be decisions. But yeah, I do see Allen. I see Allen getting a unanimous decision win over Giga. If he avoids the kicks, he avoids the striking, he'll definitely get that win.
Yep, I second that. So let's go to the next fight on the card. Mokaev, currently ranked in at number 6 versus Manel. Never fights Kape, pretty much. Ranked in at 8. I mean, this guy's got a history, but let's just focus in on Mokaev. Look, 11-0, undefeated in the UFC, just came off a unanimous decision win over Alex Perez. Before that, 3 back-to-back finishes, although not most impressive performances, I think, compared to his first few fights. And then you got unanimous decision win over Charles Johnson, which is really aging quite well, actually, I
Yeah.
think. In there for Mokaev as well. Manel Kape, a different story. Cancelled. Last fought in
Australia.
September of 2023 against Felipe dos Santos, with the whole Kai Kara France beef going back and forth, shouting at him on the microphone. I think that was the night where the N word was used 2 times, wasn't it, or something
No,
like that?
the
Right?
F word, the F word.
F word, thank you. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, because he used that word, didn't he? So not a great fan favorite at the moment. I don't know how the promotion is still putting up with him, but he's got a big chance here against Mo Mokaev. And a really interesting fight, I think, in the division. Because when we have seen Manel Kape, he's looked pretty good, right? Like, I don't think he's
Right,
looked
yeah.
bad.
He's always ironically, it's our picks for who's going to be the flyweight champion by the end of the year.
Yeah.
We're fighting each other, so one of us will be a step closer. Yeah. I'm not going to talk bad about them. Mokaev doesn't have a fan friendly style. However, he does get the job finished. He does have finishes, and like against like you said, Johnson, against the Canadian Jared Gordon.
Yeah.
Jared Gordon, the
Malcolm
Canadian guy.
Gordon.
Malcolm Gordon, Pim Elliott.
Yeah.
So he does get those. He does find a way to come back and finish. Manel Kape is kind of the opposite. He's kind of explosive and he wants to finish a fight right away. I mean, he does have a lot of cancellations, but it wasn't all his fault. Like, I think if you look at the cancellations, one of them was because he was injured. The other times was he wasn't well. He injured, missed weight by a lot. The other times was the other people was injured, like Kai Kara France, Alex Perez, and so on and so forth. So I still think it's an intriguing, fun matchup. My question is whether Manel Kape will catch Mokaev with a knee when he goes for a crotch sniff.
Yeah, that's the interesting part, right? That's the equalizer. It very much is a striker versus grappler fight, isn't it? Like, it's very, very classic style, kind of what you might see in the old days. Manel Kape's a very, very good striker. He's very fast on his feet. It does kind of like tend to flow in and out during a fight. Like, he tends to be really hot for a couple of minutes, take a minute off, be really hot again, kind of let the fight flow a little bit. I think against Mokaev, that's going to be his undoing, because I think in that minute, if you give Mokaev that minute, because one thing Mokaev is he is quite patient. He can be quite patient with his takedown, trying to get it, kind of playing a little bit of the stand-up game, which has been to his detriment a little bit, I think, in places. But I think Kape's concentration might cost him in this fight. I mean, do you see Mokaev being able to get him to the ground? And then if so, do you see Kape being able to then actually get back up? How do you see it playing out?
No doubt Mokaev will be able to take him down. I think Mokaev took down everybody he fought so far, or at least try to take him down and submit them some sort of way. Kape, yeah, definitely the question is, can he stay up? And if he does get taken down, can he use his explosiveness to get back up? I think he might be able to do it a few more times, especially if it's probably in the later rounds. However, my question is if Kape was last scheduled fight he was injured and missed weight. So that means he's coming off an injury. I did see a picture a few months ago. He had a little belly. So I wonder if he still has that explosiveness and willingness to explode during a fight. That will be my main question for him to coming into this fight. I think Mokaev basically just you gotta take him down. You gotta continue your fight. As much as it's not a fan favorite style, you gotta keep doing what you're doing. If to keep your O, to keep winning in the flyweight division, especially with just seeing Steve Ercik at number 10, number 9, fighting for the belt. You could clearly have one win and one win in the division and be called for a title opportunity.
Yeah, and it just shows kind of the quality of the division as well, just how far Steve took Pantoja in that fight. You know, some people are in the camp that Steve won that fight. You know, so there's arguments to be had there, and the division is wide open. I think it's interesting how the division will move after this fight. You know, do you think this is a next shot at the title type fight? I know they're talking about Tatsuro Taira for MSG, aren't they? Right, with Pantoja. But do you think that we could get another leapfrog situation, right? Because the narrative was that Erceg leapfrogged Mokaev with a better performance to get that title shot against Pantoja.
Well, if you compare it, yeah, Taira fought Perez. Yeah, Perez did get an injury, but Taira was on his back and kind of forced him to drop to his knees and kind of hurt him there. He was dominating the whole fight. Mokaev didn't look as impressive against Perez. Taira looked against Perez. So it depends on Mokaev do this fight. He might leapfrog Taira. Although I don't know. It depends on, but they might give him an option. I'm pretty sure that's what they gave with Pantoja. Like, hey, you want to fight Mokaev or Steve Ercik? And Pantoja's like, look, Ercik got a better finish last fight. I'll go with him. So they're probably just building options for Pantoja to fight anybody he wants because Moreno definitely not, Perez definitely not, and Brandon Royval definitely not. So it's definitely they're gonna look outside the top 5, and all of them are ranked outside top 5. Let's see who. I think they'll do the same thing. Pantoja said he wants to break. He's probably gonna fight after summer at least now. So let's see if he fights probably on the MSG card or in December or even October in that Abu Dhabi card. See what they do, and especially if Mokaev does win impressively, and Pantoja wants to fight, they probably will do that Abu Dhabi card for the Muslim fans to get Mokaev on there. He'll probably be a good co-main. So just honestly, in flyweight, I think you just gotta get an impressive win. You get a title shot. So that's what you gotta what both these men gotta do. Just get a more impressive win than what Tatsuro Taira did a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that seems to be the way it is, right? From 1 all the way down to 10, anyone's pretty much possible to get a title shot off of a good win. And I think that's what Mokaev's got to do. If Mokaev really wants to pave the way and say, hey, I'm here, he's got to go out and get a big finish. I'm talking first round, early second round, not messing around, taking his back for two rounds, finishing him in the third. I don't think that gets it done over Taira. And I think he can get it done. I just think he's got to push it. He's got to go back to that place he was when he very first started in the UFC, where he came out with a flying knee on Cody Durden.
That's what he has to do.
The place went nuts for the guy. Took his back, choked him out, bang, job done. He's got to go and do that. And then you get on the mic. He's good on the mic, so he can call out Pantoja for, like you said, Abu Dhabi, MSG. Either one makes sense. Either one is a good turnaround time. Mokaev likes to stay active. Obviously, he wanted to be the youngest champ. Credit to him for taking this fight because it's kind of, if he loses this fight, he's losing to the 9th ranked guy. He loses his undefeated streak. Where does it put him in the division? He's fighting a guy below him that is coming off a couple of cancelled bouts. So it's ballsy. It's ballsy to take on this fight, I think. I think it just shows, similar to Aspinall, that he just wants to keep active, wants to keep fighting, wants to keep the narrative going. wants to keep his name moving. So, do you fancy either of these guys to get that picture finish that we're talking about that they need?
If Mokaev does come out like he did in his UFC debut, no doubt, because he almost knocked out a guy with a knee and choked him to sleep. I wouldn't praise Mokaev as much as you did. I just think his lackluster performances, you had to defend your ranking in a way, and it depends who was active and ready. And we also have, don't forget, Steve Erceg versus Kai Kara France in a few is the next pay-per-view, is it 305?
Yeah, in August, yeah.
So in 1 month away, we'll have another flyweight bout that might decide who gets a title shot. So it's a three-headed race. Tatsuro Taira won his bout. Now it's between whoever wins this, and then the winner between Erceg and Kai Kara France, especially the way Erceg fought. And like you said, some people think he won, so we might see it as a rematch. I don't think people complain about that. Kai Kara France is always on the cusp. He's kind of is the gatekeeper of the division. He's like, oh, you win against Kai Kara France, you're definitely there. So, yeah, Mokaev just gotta come out, guns blazing. You're in the UK, in your home country. You live there. You want to come out strong. Manel Kape wants to take away his O, and Kape's not bad on the mic either with his stupid little accent. He kind of just talks crap and he gets what he wants in a way. So he's still impressive. He has more impressive. If I'm thinking about finishes, Manel Kape has way more impressive finishes, and that's what I'm thinking that's going to happen.
The Manel Kape finishes Muhammad Mokaev.
Yes.
Ooh, that's a bold one. That's a bold one. I have to say that's a bold one. I mean, how, why, when?
I don't know if you heard the John Silva story a few weeks ago that came out, that Manel Kape told him apparently that Mokaev and Kape bumped into each other at the UFC PI,
right?
And some words were exchanged. I don't want to quote. I don't quite remember what he said exactly, but it was something ridiculous. Maybe he's in a bit of Mokaev's head, but I just think Kape has been getting so much shit on him lately. I think he wants to remind people who he is, kind of. And he probably sees this as a great opportunity. Like, I'm going over to the UK to fight somebody who's been talking crap about me as well, so I could get it done in the UK, get in the mic and call for a title shot. So I think he wants to show like people, y'all must have forgot kind of moment.
Yo, I must have forgot. I'm going to say people are going to keep on forgetting. I'm going to go with the. I think Mokaev will get it done in the second. Will it be spectacular or not? I mean, I would be looking over my shoulder at that Kai Kara France Steve Erceg fight if I was both Taira and Mokaev/Kape. I'd be looking over my shoulder, looking at that fight, thinking, please let it go. 3 rounds. Let it be a war. Let these guys get cut up so they literally cannot get called in to fight. So they get that long suspension so that one of us gets in, because that's got to be that fight's got fireworks written all over it. And if you're looking at the 3, you know, I'm a Taira fanboy, I'm a Mokaev fanboy, but if you're looking at the 3, dude, like Steve Erceg or Kai Kara France, that's the fight you probably want to see against Pantoja, right? From an entertainment point of view, not necessarily a merit, but an entertainment point of view, that's probably the one. So, yeah, I think Mokaev's going to go out and make a statement. I'm going second round submission. I think he's going to take him down and just tap him out. That's the way it's going.
I'm going to go Manel Kape TKO in, I'd say, round 1 or 3.
Round 1 or 3, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so either an early finish or I don't know how he finishes him in round 3, but hey, it's your prediction.
Hey, that's my prediction, and we'll come back here next week and or 2 weeks from now, and you'd be like, John, I'm so sorry, you were right.
yeah, we can call it even with the Alex Pereira stuff. Next, get your blonde wig at the ready. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett is coming back, and he's fighting against King, no longer Bobby. King Green, ranked number 15. Yeah. I'm actually quite surprised he's still ranked, but he is still ranked number 15, coming off the UFC 300 win of Jim Miller, where he bloodied up poor old Jim Miller. And Paddy the Paddy Pimblett, coming off the back of a win against Tony Ferguson and undefeated in the UFC. Although some people would beg to differ about that. But that's where we stand with these two guys. I mean, I'm going to throw over to you and kind of get your thoughts on the Paddy hype train, what this fight does for him, and just where your thoughts are overall.
So I felt that hype train when he fought in the UK last time against. Can you remind me of his name? Jordan Levitt. Yes,
Jordan Levitt. Yeah.
Jordan Levitt. I felt that hype train even before that when he was coming out. Everyone was screaming, "Oh, Paddy the Baddy," and I was like, "Oh crap, this is hype. I like this." You have a whole country stadium behind you screaming your name, and you get a finish and you get it done. Then he got fat, and he talks crap, and he doesn't call anybody out, and he's like, I will not call anybody out. I am the cash cow division, kind of, and I will let people come to me, which I really don't like. Don't like that. Then he goes and fights Jared Gordon, and then he absolutely lost that fight. He absolutely lost that fight. I don't know how he got one judge, let alone two judges, to say he won that fight. So he absolutely lost that fight. And then he goes on and he's delusional, saying, I did win that fight. Calling for a fight of the night, when I think it was probably like 20 strikes, significant strikes after 3 rounds, which I think Dana should actually take away 50,000 away from him for that opposite of fight of the night. And then he goes on and he fights Tony Ferguson, right? And then people have been finishing Tony. Bobby Green finished Tony. Michael Chandler finished Tony. Everybody who Tony fought, except Oliveira and Dariush, for some reason, couldn't finish Tony.
Yeah, I mean, Oliveira almost snapped his arm off, right, as well. So it's not for want of trying.
And Dariush kind of popped his knee out or broke his ankle, according to him. But Paddy's hype train went from up to like skyrocket down. I don't see him as the fighter he came in the UFC where he got a quick blitz first round knockout. I think to surprise his opponent. I don't see Jordan Levitt probably just overwhelmed by the crowd in the UK that he couldn't handle it. And also with Rodrigo Vargas, I think he also got overwhelmed. I think something about the UK crowd screaming his name got overwhelmed. But now we're starting to find out. And especially Tony kind of looked good in round 1 against Paddy.
Yeah.
He did.
He looked better.
He looked better. I know he got an injury after Gordon fight and coming into the Tony fight with an injury. So I don't know about Paddy. I don't know about Paddy, although I said I'm not going to talk crap about him. I just to do that, but he did. He's a father now, so I think that might change now. I didn't see him be as fat as he had. The only problem is his mentality. I know it's his last fight on his contract in UFC. He's just been talking about going 20 million fight boxing. And then on TMZ, he's like, "Oh, I'm not leaving the UFC." I think it's just all a tactic to try to get more money. But man, you got to get an impressive win versus Bobby Green, because Green has been getting been crazy fights. I mean, look what he did to Jim Miller. He bloodied him up. Yeah. Jalen Turner, yeah, he got finished badly and got more than unnecessary damage done to him.
It's the Grant Dawson one, right? That's
Grant Dawson first round knockout. Finished Tony. Like it's all he's been on impressive fights. If you think about Bobby Green, you're like, oh yeah, I would like to see him fight. But Paddy, it's like, not so much.
Not so much. I mean, it's amazing how short the memory spans are in MMA, right? And how quickly things can change. You know, like exactly like you said, he's not been that blitzy kind of style fighter that he was right at the beginning. Similar to Mokaev, right? Similar conversation we were having about Mokaev is that it's an interesting question if the style has changed or if he's changed. What exactly has changed? Is it just the level up in competition from Jordan Levitt and Vargas to Jared Gordon and Tony. Okay, step up, Tony Ferguson,
Mm.
whatever you want to say. Um, yeah, what exactly is it that's caused the kind of the tail off in performance, so to speak? Because I'm not sitting under a rock. I mean, come on, that Jared Gordon fight, it wasn't a good fight. However, whatever way you think it went, it wasn't a good fight. I remember on the night feeling like, yeah, Paddy's probably lost this one, and I was feeling a little bit um, apprehensive for him in that fight. And the thing is, like you said, he managed to convince two judges somehow, whatever they were watching. I agree. Like the attitude afterwards did rub me up the wrong way as well. Kind of the little bit of delusion, but I mean that's part of his character. That's part of his personality. I think that's part of leaning into that whole Paddy the baddie persona. And it just depends if you can see past it or not. Some people do. I can absolutely understand how it rubs people up the wrong way, right? The same way, kind of like I'm trying to think of somebody who's similar, Ilia Topuria, right? Similar, the same way Ilia Topuria rubs me up the wrong way. I can see how Paddy the baddie rubs people up the wrong way. The difference, obviously, is
Topuria gets
Topuria's
it
got
done.
Topuria's
Speaking of
got a belt,
Topuria with Paddy as well.
right? He's got a belt. Like the two are kind of similar in their personalities, so to speak. So I can see how it would annoy people.
Here's my
Um,
here's my complaint against Tony. Paddy straight up was honest after. He's like, "Yeah, I gassed out. I
yeah, yeah,
gassed
yeah.
out in later rounds. Surprised me in the first round. That's like the Paddy I wanted to see." And also the mental attitude. Like, okay, you said you're gonna run through this division. You're gonna be the champion at 155. Even if you came in with an injury against Jared Gordon, where's that? Where's that wrestling, the jiu-jitsu you have? Why don't you push the pace? If with the mental attitude, if you're a champion, we expect you, even with an injury, kind of you at least
Yeah.
fight to the death, have a career, have a way to finish the guy early, so you don't have to fight with your injury. Like we've seen that in the past. I don't think Paddy is there anymore. I don't know how he fought in Cage Warriors. I haven't really seen it. I just saw a few finishes he had, especially the last one right
Mhm.
before signing with the UFC. I think in terms of competition as well, who he fought compared to Bobby Green has probably fought at higher
Yeah, yeah, no
competition.
doubt. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's see how if Bobby can bring that experience to humble Paddy Pimblett.
Do you think that's what's going to
Unfortunately, not.
happen? Yeah. How do you see the matchup going? What do you think about it?
I do think being back in UK will help Paddy. He's definitely, especially starting the main card pay-per-view. He'll get the crowd going again. Although I do think it's gonna be another decision win for Paddy. I think he's probably will utilize more of his wrestling and jiu-jitsu like he gets against Tony on Bobby. But Bobby is good at scrambles and he has slick jiu-jitsu. So I
Yeah.
think we'll have more of an entertaining fight-wise on the ground. But I do think Paddy decision.
Oh, you think a decision? You don't think he finishes king?
No, I think also Bobby likes to talk in the cage, and I think they might have a little fun talking inside the cage and might get into each other's heads that they won't finish the fight. I think it's a clear decision win for Paddy.
Yeah. Look, I think if you're green, you try and play up to that ego, right? You try and
Yeah.
get him to rush you so you can catch him with something because Green with that low hand style can kind of bring up the strikes from nowhere, and kind of catch you, right? So that's I think what you try and do if you're Bobby Green, you try and catch Paddy Pimblett. And the thing with Paddy Pimblett, it's like because of his style, what it was, he can get caught. Like in those early couple of fights, he got caught pretty handily. And if you're up against a better boxer like Bobby Green, you got to watch your P's and Q's. Like you've got to be really careful when you're rushing in or trying to do whatever it is you want to do. There is no doubt that Paddy's got to get this to the ground and then just try and use that speed jitsu that he has, because that's what he does. That's his
Yeah.
game. It get to the back as fast as possible and choke people out, or get an armbar or a triangle or something like that. And he does it at speed. He's not somebody who works a position, for example. He's somebody who chases submissions as fast as possible. That's his game, not necessarily the striking. So the first minute, 2 minutes will be really intriguing to see how both fighters approach this, because Paddy's not a standoffish fighter. So how is Bobby going to deal with that? Oh, sorry, King Green. How's he going to deal with that? what's he gonna do? What's his game plan gonna be? So like that's what makes me think if King can catch him, that's a problem for Paddy Pimblett. But Paddy seems to thrive in that chaos, so maybe that's the best thing
Yeah.
that could happen.
You brought up a good point that Paddy does leave his chin up a lot. And Bobby likes to keep his hands down and catch people by surprise with his punches. So I think the first round will be probably the most interesting one. That's probably the round Bobby could steal. And then second and third round, we'll see what. Sorry. First round, what Green can steal from Paddy. And then Paddy will come back round 2 and 3 and solidify his win.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a bit on the fence.
I'm thinking. I'm on the fence. Like I'm really on the fence. I can't see a decision. I think both of these guys have got the ability to finish the other one. I would be very surprised if it goes to a decision. But I'm struggling. I'm struggling with how and who gets it done because I can really see Bobby catching him. You know, if the dude can knock out Drew Dober, and who was the other one he knocked out before that? Did he knock somebody else out before that? No. Anyway, I'm imagining things. But if he can do that to Grant Dawson, not Drew Dober, sorry, to Grant Dawson, if he can do that to Grant Dawson, there's no reason why he can't do that to Paddy.
He knocked out Al Quinta. Fight a night with Rafael Fiziev. If you remember that.
Yeah, that was a tremendous fight. Exactly, and Rafael Fiziev is a really, really high level striker. So this is big trouble. This is big trouble for Paddy Pimblett, you know, and he wins this fight, he gets a ranking, there's a fair bit of pressure on him, he is coming home. It's in Manchester, so there's going to be a lot of people traveling over from Liverpool because it ain't far. It's 45 to an hour on a train. So there's going to be a lot of people in attendance for Paddy and Molly as well. Oof.
And Tom and Leon, he's not, obviously, there's a bigger fan base, but Taylor, whatever you say now, that's going to happen in the fight. So make your decision, make a prediction very careful.
I think I'm going to go Paddy first round finish. I think he's going to bring it. I think he's going to bring it back. I think he's going to bring that energy. I think he'll thrive off being, you know, a hometown favorite. No matter what he's done, he's not going to get booed in Manchester.
No, I doubt that.
And you know, you throw on his party music, and he comes out giving it all this and all that kind of thing. You got the chant already. You know, people are going to need. You know, that's the point in the night where it's going to be getting to 3 a.m. UK time. You know, that's what you need is Paddy Pimblett coming out right before you get a WrestleFest from Mokaev.
Do you know the booze cells? What's gonna happen?
Do I know
the booze cells, the alcohol cells? Are they gonna go throughout the morning?
I would imagine they're trying to get a license to extend it because usually a license doesn't extend past 3 a.m. in the UK. So they might get a special event license, which they tend to do sometimes, and they do grant that kind of thing.
Because I think after the Mokaev fight, and Giga fight, you might want it before Tom comes out.
Yeah, I think the Mokaev fight might be a booze fight. Might be a go get your beer, go get your hot dog, whatever, because you'll be buzzing off the Paddy fight, and then hopefully Arnold can do something before Big Tom comes out. So yeah, man, that's what I'm going for. First round, Paddy the Baddy submission.
Solid.
Gets back to winning ways. Talk some crazy stuff on the microphone. Probably calls out someone in that top 15.
Aslam Makachev. No, we know Paddy. Paddy's not gonna call out anybody. He's like, anybody can get it. Well, I can't do his accent, but anybody can get it. He's not gonna call anybody out. Yeah. And I have a suspicion he's gonna be like, I want to be a father, so let me take 6 months off to 8 months off, and only fight next UK card.
Yep. So look, you think a decision for Paddy?
No, decision for Paddy. Yep.
Decision, Paddy. Okay, look, that's gonna wrap us for the main card. Come back next week where we will dive a little bit deeper into the prelims with the likes of Nathaniel Wood, Molly McCann, Obanelia, Mick Parkin, etc. So we wrapped everything up quite nicely for you to enjoy in the main card, and then we will be back next week with the prelims. So, Mr. Boguslavski, Gamebred, thanks as always for your time, brother.
Thank you. Always fun talking about this and seeing my predictions go right as always.
Go down the toilet. Right. Thanks, everybody.